I Can Read Music by Joanne Martin, Volume 2. If you haven't seen my video on Volume 1, I would recommend you go and watch that first and then come and watch this one. I will link it up above right now for you. So this is the continuation. As soon as the student has learned Volume 1, and they have also learned the entire book by playing all of them with their violin. So like I told you in the other video, they go through Volume 1 twice, all the way through from front to back. They do it without their violin, and then from front to back, they do it with their violin. The only exceptions I make about that is if I have a student who already knows a lot about music, like let's say they're quite advanced in their piano skills. I get a lot of violin students who have already learned piano for some years actually, and so I usually just do a quick overview of Volume 1, or I will actually just go straight to Volume 2. I always, judge it on a case-by-case basis. So here's the first lesson of the Volume 2. And as you can see, it's quite different. It does not split up the book into pitch and rhythm anymore. And now the pitch and the rhythm are combined. So it goes from lesson 1 all the way to lesson 100 now, because the previous book had 50 pitch and 50 rhythm, and now we have 100 combined exercises. I love this book because of few reasons. It really acclimates the student to learning both pitch and rhythm at the same time right here in the beginning, because they keep everything simple. So you can see line 1 is just rhythm exercise. So is line 2. Now line 3 is just a pitch exercise. So it kind of recalls what they've done in the first volume. And then very simply, they start combining. Pitch and rhythm are changing at the same time right here in line 4. The other difference is I think the other book had 5 lines, or maybe it had 6 lines. And this one has 6 lines because they actually pair them up. So second reason I love this book is that it is actually in duet format. So if you see this brace right here, it means you can play them simultaneously. So what I usually do is I have the student, let's say I'll assign the student lesson 2 through 5. So they'll practice this page one day, they'll practice this page one day, this page one day, and this page one day, and then the next day they'll go back, and I tell them to go back and do this one again. Maybe they can do both of them again. And the next day, I guess we'd be on day 6 now, they can do this one and this one again. And then day 7 would be their lesson day. So that's kind of how I assign. I assign sometimes only one page. If the student, needs that and they're focusing on something else, or they're having a hard time with this, then I assign less, or I assign more. I always individualize my assignments to my students' capabilities, their level, their age, their personality, even their motivation. So anyway, going back to this, they should practice every single line individually, but when they come to lesson, then we actually, pair up. So I'll say, okay, let me hear, because I don't have time to hear every single line. I'll say, I would like to hear lesson 2, line 6. So they end up showing me their work on this one. Of course, it's random. They don't know which one I'm going to ask for. So they have to practice everything. And so they play this. Sometimes I let them play it by themselves if they don't feel confident. And then once I tell them you did a great job, everything's correct, then I will play this one. While they play this one, we play together, and it has some really beautiful harmonies. So as you can see, every page is a little different. They show you this little chart here, but I find that, some of my students, they don't understand it. So, it helps some and it doesn't help some. I kind of never look at it myself, but I do like what's next to it. This is kind of like a little warm up. It gives you the scale that you're going to use in the next section, and probably in the next section here too. So this is a mini scale, but you can see in the future they might give you a longer scale. So now you see how it's progressive, and it's going, it's using all of these notes, and then so you can see that this the subsequent exercises do use those notes. So it's kind of a reminder of what's to come, and it gets the fingers kind of in the right pattern in the right places. So it mixes up rhythms quite a bit. You can see long rhythms here, dotted half note, eighth notes, combinations of rests. This page is particularly challenging, but it varies. So you'll have some tricky sections, and then you'll have kind of like a cool down area where it kind of goes back to basics again. So you can see it got difficult, and then now here it's a little bit easier again, probably because they're now focusing on D string. So then it starts out kind of easy again, and then it starts to build up. So you can see that, you can play these two simultaneously, you can play those two simultaneously, and these two simultaneously. So sometimes they don't have a duet here. These are individual, and sometimes they take away the pitches, that they only focus on rhythm, which I really like as well. This is really actually a challenging book, because after you kind of learn and review the basics from volume 1, then what they do is it gets interesting. So let's see if we can find it. Again, they vary the time signature quite a bit. They even use 5/4, which is an irregular meter, and I just love that, because anytime where we can expose a student to something unusual, little by little, I'm highly for it, because if we don't expose them to new things, sometimes they get kind of stuck and they stop thinking outside of the box. And then they kind of start expecting certain things all the time. So it's good to kind of throw new things out at students. They do a lot of slurring here, groups, which is quite challenging actually. And then this is the part I wanted to show you here. They teach you about meters. So this is a 2/2 meter. It's cut time. So they show you the difference between a 2/4 meter and a 2/2 meter, which is kind of nice. I sometimes skip over this. I just explain it myself. I sometimes skip over this, but it's a great way. It's a great approach. I do agree with Joanne Martin here. It's pretty good. But sometimes I just have them learn the bottoms, and then I explain that. So I can show you in a future video what I do with that. So so right here, now it's everything on the page is in cut time. They even show you the difference between this symbol and that symbol, and that it's, à la brève. So then they, with, holding with the theme of counting half notes, then they show you 3/2 meter. So 3/2 meter here, and then you learn about a dotted whole note, which is nice. Kids really love this next part. This is 4/2 meter, and then they see this double whole note right here. So this is kind of fun. This is called a brève. So it looks like one of those Star Wars fighter planes, or like something. It's like on stilts. It looks like stilts are surrounding it. So anyway, this is actually worth 8 quarter notes or 2 half notes, so that's kind of fun. So it takes a while for the student to wrap their brain around the fact that they're looking for half notes now. They can't count this as 4. They have to count it as 2. It's kind of hurts the brain for a while, and then they get used to it. And then once they get that going, then we have kind of a mixture. They kind of mix everything up in review. And then I'll show you the next little unit is about eighth notes. So now we have time signatures where we're learning about eighth notes. So again, they do that comparison where you see 3/8 notes per measure and then 3/4 notes per measure. So, it shows how these look very different, but when you play it, they actually sound exactly the same. So now after that half note unit, now they're having to count eighth notes. So counting eighth notes is again tricky for the brain, but going the opposite direction. Now we're counting smaller units, whereas before they had to count larger units. And here's some irregular meter. This is nice. So I love to see that 5/4, 5/8. And then let's see here, they do introduce some low ones, which is nice. So it has some new notes that the volume 1 did not have. And again, just kind of throwing everything together, reviewing the 3/2 meter and so on and so forth. Of course, they have triplets here. And then they introduce compound meter right here. So sometimes this is very confusing for the students. So again, I might skip this little intro. Instead, I go straight to 89 instead. And I just teach them how to look for eighth notes. And since they've been counting eighth notes in the previous unit, they can kind of count eighth notes over here without too much problem. Then we have like this hooked bowing. So anyway, going all the way to here. And so each exercise is usually about one line long, but what's fun is it becomes longer. See, this exercise is now 2 lines. Part 3 goes here and then up to there, and then we're at the final here. We're at the final stage. This is lesson 99 and 100. So this is, it only has 2, I don't know if you can see that. Yeah. So this only has 2 parts. It goes all the way, see, no double bar here, all the way to there. So it's kind of nice. It's fun. And then once they get to the end, we always play lesson 100 because it's quite a landmark. And then yeah, I make a big deal. I play the graduation song for them, and then they have officially completed this. And then I go on to other things like Wolf Art or Applebaum. Duets, or other types of duet or note reading or sight reading or etude studies and whatnot. So anyway, enjoy.